God says, "This is my final warning." The words don't crash like thunder, they arrive quietly, almost tenderly, as though whispered straight into the soul. They are not filled with anger but with sorrow, the kind that comes from watching someone you love drift too far away. You try to ignore them at first. The world is loud, there's always something else to do, another message to answer, another task waiting. But the words don't leave. They stay, repeating softly in the background of your thoughts. This is my final warning. And deep down you know it's not a threat. It's an invitation. It's a line drawn lovingly through time that says, "Wake up now. Don't waste what's left of this beautiful life." You sit in the stillness of your room, phone in hand, mind restless. You've spent so much of your life running, from silence, from truth, from yourself. You tell yourself that someday you'll slow down, someday you'll pray more, forgive more, love more. But someday has always stayed somewhere beyond reach. And tonight, those words won't let you push them aside. This is my final warning. It feels different from fear. It feels like a mirror being held up to your heart. In its reflection, you see the moments you've lost, the people you stopped calling, the kindness you postponed, the apologies you never made. You see how busy you've been keeping the outside together while the inside has quietly crumbled. The warning is not about punishment, it's about loss of presence. The 6 minutes it speaks of are not measured in seconds, they are the final moments before a life slips into numbness, before compassion turns cold. God's voice calls not to scare you, but to remind you that time is precious and the soul is fragile when forgotten. You close your eyes and breathe. Images flash behind your eyelids, laughter from years ago, tears you never let fall, the face of someone you hurt but never apologized to. It's all there, waiting to be healed. And the voice says again, "You will cry for the rest of your life, not because I punish, but because you will finally see what you could have loved while there was still time." Something in your chest tightens. You whisper into the stillness, "Then what do I do?" And the answer comes gently, begin again. Right now. Stop running. Sit with me. Let your heart listen before another minute passes unnoticed. You feel the weight of all the tomorrows you promised yourself pressing on your shoulders. All the times you said, "I'll change later." The warning is mercy, it's grace in its most urgent form. It says, you can still change. You can still love. But not if you keep sleeping through your own life. A tear falls. It feels like the first drop of rain after a long drought. The walls you've built around your heart start to soften. The noise in your mind quiets, replaced by a calm you can't explain. You open your eyes and look around. Everything seems sharper, the faint hum of electricity, the soft glow of light on the floor, the rhythm of your breathing. For the first time in a long while, you feel alive in the present. You understand now, the warning is not about endings, it's about beginnings. It's the voice of love saying, don't waste another day. It's the divine reminder that every minute counts, not toward fear, but toward awakening. You whisper again, I hear you. And in the quiet, the voice answers, softer now, filled with warmth, then listen closely. You still have time. Use it well. Don't chase shadows when light is within your reach. Don't measure your worth by what fades. Measure it by how deeply you love, You sit for a long time, breathing in that truth. The urgency fades, replaced by gratitude. The final warning was never about punishment. It was a hand reaching through the noise, asking you to come home. Outside, the night deepens. The world keeps spinning. But something in you has shifted forever. When the room finally falls silent again, you can almost hear your own heartbeat answering the voice that called you. The sound is steady, alive, proof that there is still time. You realize that final warning didn't mean the end of existence, it meant the end of delay. It meant that the season of postponing joy, compassion, and honesty had run its course. You stand and look around at your life. The things that once felt essential, the endless scroll of messages, the numbers, the noise, suddenly look small. There's a kind of clarity that comes when illusion fades. You see how much energy you've poured into protecting an image while neglecting the soul behind it. The whisper returns, almost a sigh, it's not too late, but it is time. You step toward the window and look out. The streetlights paint long golden paths on the pavement. In each one you imagine a choice waiting, a path you could walk if you were brave enough to change. The warning wasn't about danger, it was about invitation. You feel it now, the pull toward life that is deeper than comfort. The voice speaks again, you filled your days with everything but me, with noise, with worry, with the endless chase for more. But I've been here all along, in the pauses, in the quiet moments you brushed aside. If you want to find peace, begin there, You whisper back, show me how. And the world seems to answer. You notice the soft rhythm of your breath, the warmth of the air against your skin, the faint scent of rain outside. Every small thing becomes a teacher. The simplicity of being alive feels like the message you've been missing. For years you chased meaning in achievement, but meaning was hiding in the way the morning light touches a wall, in the way laughter sounds when it's honest, in the way forgiveness feels when it's finally spoken aloud. The warning has turned into awareness. You begin to understand that life was never asking you to conquer it, only to notice it. The whisper continues, clean the rooms of your heart. One by one. Start with the one called gratitude, You take a slow breath and begin listing what remains beautiful. The list grows quickly: air, light, people you love, people who have loved you despite your mistakes, music that makes you cry, silence that lets you heal. Each item feels like a small flame relit inside you. Then the voice says, "Now the room called forgiveness." You hesitate. Forgiveness has always been the hardest one. It requires letting go of stories you've told yourself, releasing the comfort of anger, facing pain honestly. But the light inside you urges you forward. You whisper names. You whisper your own. And with each word, another layer of heaviness leaves your chest. Tears come easily now. They aren't tears of guilt, they are the water that cleanses what was stale. You realize that the great loss the warning spoke of wasn't about wealth or possessions, it was about the risk of losing your ability to feel, to love, to connect. The losses you've already endured were never because the world was cruel, they came when you closed your heart to protect it. You sit again, quieter than before. A soft joy begins to bloom where pain once lived. It feels fragile but real. You hear the whisper again, asterisk, this is what I wanted you to find. Not fear, not perfection, but honesty. I needed you to stop long enough to see that your life is still sacred, asterisk. You look around your physical home. The clutter suddenly mirrors the clutter inside you. Without thinking, you begin to tidy, folding clothes, wiping dust, opening windows. Every gesture feels like prayer. You are preparing space, both outward and inward, for new life to enter. When you finish, the room is brighter. You sit down again, exhausted but peaceful. The voice inside has grown softer, no longer urgent, now companionable. You heard me, it says. Now keep listening, not for warnings, but for guidance. The night deepens outside, but inside, something like dawn begins. You feel it spreading slowly through you, a quiet light, a steadiness. It is the reward for listening, the natural consequence of awareness. You think again of the phrase that once frightened you, "You will cry for the rest of your life." You understand now that it meant you would feel deeply for the rest of your life, that tears are not punishment but evidence that your heart has awakened. You whisper into the stillness, "Then let me never stop feeling." And for the first time in many years, you know that you are truly alive. Morning arrives differently now. It's not the sound of alarms that wakes you, but the soft awareness that life is waiting. The sunlight slips through the window, thin and gold, and it feels like an answer. You lie still for a moment, listening to your breath, feeling the steadiness in your chest. The night before changed something subtle but permanent. You didn't make a list of resolutions, you made a decision to be present. The voice that once sounded like warning now sounds like a companion, asterisk, walk with me today. Just notice, asterisk, so you rise, and you move through the day as though each moment is alive. Coffee steam curls upward, tiny clouds caught in sunlight. The first sip tastes like gratitude. The street outside hums with early voices, and instead of irritation, you feel connection. You realize that every person hurrying past you carries a whole universe inside them, just like you. You start to see people differently, not as obstacles, but as reflections of the same divine breath. At work, you speak slower. You actually listen when someone talks. You find yourself saying thank you more often, even for small things. You begin to notice how your calm changes rooms. It spreads the way a single candle softens the dark. The final warning has become a constant whisper of life. Don't sleep through this. Don't let love go unnoticed. During lunch you step outside. The air smells of rain. You tilt your face upward and close your eyes. Drops fall, cool, gentle, and you laugh quietly. You used to run from rain, now it feels like blessing. Each drop feels like a word of grace, still here. Still loved. Still time, That evening you visit someone you've avoided. There was a fracture between you, a long silence built on pride. You don't plan an apology, you just knock. The door opens, and there's surprise, then tears, then relief. Words come haltingly at first. I'm sorry, me too, I missed you. The moment is small, but something huge shifts. One more wall falls. On the way home you realize that forgiveness doesn't erase pain, it transforms it. The hurt remains part of the story, but it's no longer the ending. The warning was really this: don't let pride outlive love. Days turn into weeks. You keep cleaning the inner house, opening windows, letting light and air move freely. You still stumble, anger still flares, impatience still knocks, but you catch yourself sooner. The voice inside doesn't scold, it guides. Try again. Choose gentleness. Begin once more. One night you walk to the park. The sky is full of stars, the kind that look close enough to touch. You sit on a bench, hands in your lap, and think about the person you used to be, the one always rushing, always afraid of not being enough. You don't feel shame for them anymore. You feel compassion. They were doing their best in the dark. You smile and whisper, "Thank you for surviving long enough to see the light." The voice answers, soft as wind through leaves, "This is what I wanted for you, not perfection, but peace. Not fear, but awareness." You breathe it in. You think about how many people are still running the way you once did, chasing noise, missing their own hearts. You wish you could hand them this calm, but you know you can't. You can only live it. Presence is contagious, peace spreads quietly. In time, you notice that life still brings storms. There are still losses, still unanswered questions. But now you move through them differently. You don't interpret pain as punishment, you see it as part of being alive, another door through which compassion enters. When grief comes, you sit with it instead of running. When joy comes, you hold it gently, knowing it will pass and return again. Each day feels like a conversation between you and the divine. Not the booming voice of warning anymore, but a steady dialogue written in light and breath. Stay awake. Keep loving. Keep beginning. You learn to pray in new ways. Sometimes with words, sometimes with silence, sometimes by simply doing something kind. You discover that every act of care, a meal cooked, a smile offered, a wrong made right, is a form of worship. You don't need a stage or applause, you only need sincerity. And gradually, you understand the mystery. The final warning was never meant to frighten anyone. It was love's way of saying, I don't want you to miss your own life. You think back to that first night, the tension, the fear of loss, the urgency of the words. You realize the losses were real, but they were the losses of numbness, distraction, and distance. Letting them go has made space for everything else. You have traded anxiety for awareness, isolation for intimacy, striving for stillness. Now, when the voice speaks, you don't tremble. You smile. You know what it means. It says, you're listening. Keep listening, Years pass quietly after that night, but you measure them differently now. Not in days, not in achievements, but in moments of genuine presence, the ones where you felt alive, honest, connected. The world around you still rushes, technology still hums, people still chase, time still moves too quickly. But you've learned the rhythm of eternity inside the seconds. You've learned that God doesn't shout over the noise, He waits beneath it. Every breath is a doorway back. Every act of love is a way of saying, I heard you. Sometimes, when you wake before dawn, the room is still and blue with early light. You remember how it all began, the whisper that sounded like a warning. It's strange to think how fear became grace, how urgency became peace. What once felt like a threat was really a rescue. You walk to the window. The street outside is quiet, a thin mist curling between trees. You whisper into the silence, I didn't skip it. I opened it. I'm still opening it. And something inside you smiles. The words that once frightened you, if you skip this, you will cry for the rest of your life, now sound different. They mean, if you skip being alive, if you skip love, you will miss the beauty you were born for. You think about how many chances you've been given. How many mornings you've woken, how many breaths you've taken without noticing. Life isn't a possession to keep, it's a presence to honor. Each sunrise is another invitation to start again. In your daily routines, sacredness has become ordinary. Making tea, tending plants, writing messages to friends, they're all prayers now. Gratitude weaves through everything. You catch yourself smiling for no reason, humming softly, because peace has found a home in you. People around you begin to notice. They ask, "Why do you seem so calm?" And you answer simply, "Because I finally listened." They don't always understand what you mean, but that's all right. Some truths can only be lived, not explained. Sometimes the voice still comes, not as warning, but as reminder. It says, "Keep your heart awake." The world will try to lull you back to sleep, but stay awake. Don't forget what it feels like to see, you nod quietly, because you know it's true. Distraction is always near, but awareness has become your anchor. You begin to teach others, not with sermons, but by how you treat them. When someone is harsh, you answer softly. When someone is in pain, you listen more than you speak. You realize that compassion isn't weakness, it's the strongest form of understanding. You see that every person you meet is fighting a battle you can't see. There are still nights when loneliness sits beside you. There are still moments when fear visits. But now you welcome them as old teachers. You've learned that the presence of pain doesn't mean God has left, it means He's sitting closer, whispering, "I'm still here." Let this teach you how to love deeper, One evening, as you sit by the window again, you write a small note to yourself and place it on the table. Never forget what silence said. It's a reminder that truth doesn't always arrive in dramatic ways. Sometimes it's as simple as being still long enough to listen. As the years unfold, you begin to see how everything connects, how that single night of awakening rippled into countless small mercies. The relationships you healed. The people you comforted. The moments you almost missed but didn't. You realize that what changed the world around you wasn't miracles, but the quiet transformation of one soul learning to love again. You imagine God smiling, not in triumph but in tenderness. "You heard me," He says. You let the warning become wisdom. You turned fear into faith, You answer softly, "I didn't do it alone." And He replies, "You were never alone." The truth of it fills you completely. You think of all the times you thought you had lost your way, all the years you tried to prove your worth by doing more, owning more, being more. And now, in this simple peace, you understand, you were enough all along. The final warning was never the end, it was the beginning of listening. It was love breaking through walls built from hurry and fear. It was mercy disguised as urgency. The story of your life becomes simple. You heard the call, and you stayed awake. As the day fades and the horizon glows with its last light, you whisper one final prayer, not of asking, but of gratitude. "Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for every warning that was really a reminder of love." Thank you for the quiet, for the second chances, for the peace that came when I finally stopped running. And somewhere beyond the walls, beyond sound and form, the same voice answers, not loud, not frightening, but infinite and kind, asterisk my child, I never left. I only waited for you to notice, asterisk. You close your eyes, and the world hums softly around you. Everything feels whole. The story has come full circle, not with thunder, but with stillness. The final warning has become a lifelong promise. Love is always speaking. You only have to listen.